Hello and welcome to Train Sim World 6, the latest edition in Dovetail Games Train World series. Today we are in the brand new class 222, as you can see, 220029 Voyager set. That is now available on Train Sim World 6. Why can I not get out of the train? So we can have a look at the outside. Hello. Well, let's go through the passenger compartment then. There's a lovely little catering area for the first class. And here it is, in its full glory. However, today, and we're on the Rivera line. And the Rivera line is a fantastic little line that runs between here in Plymouth, where we're at now. Not the most impressive station in the world, but we're here in Plymouth on this service, which is bound for Edinburgh, as you can see by the destination tag. And we're travelling all the way today only as far as Exeter St David's, which is what this line covers. The line also covers the Paignton branch line. I might actually do a little video on it because, if I'm honest, Train Sim World has just gone up another level. Today we are taking the cross-country class 220. Now, interestingly, I found this under Creators Club liveries. This is the X Virgin or X Transport for Avanti West Coast livery. However, the class 220 has never operated for Avanti, but I love this livery anyway. It was the 221 that was operating for Avanti, which is the 5-car version that has tilting capability. Anyway, typical for Train Sim World, there is no AI guard, so we have to guard ourselves. We've been told to lock the doors, so we'll close the doors and we'll be bound for Exeter St David's on the 1 Sierra 41 service. And then we'll just buzz and buzz again. So we're now powering away. We're going to use power notch 3. Now, I've been messing around a little bit with this.
The next station is Totnes. This is a cross-country service to Edinburgh Waverley.
Now, I had to stop the announcement. Oh, yes, I had to stop my commentary as the announcement just popped up. And this is one of the things that I find Train Sim World has finally got really good. And it's adding these announcements. And actually, there's even platform announcements telling you the real time or the real services that are on the timetable. So, as you heard from there, the next station will be Totnes, and you can also see it on our display screen here. The driver, I'm not too sure what they call it, but it's like a driver advisory. Kind of makes sense, you know. You've got drivers that run different routes all the time. You got the time there. You can keep an eye on the time as a driver, which is always good to do. It's good practice. We've got the destination, which is Edinburgh, and we've got the class here 220 forecast set, so we know that this is our train. So what I find really interesting about this route, which is a shame that Train Sim Classic didn't quite get with the Rivera route because it only ran from Paignton to Exeter, is this route goes to Plymouth, and the part between Newton Abbot and Plymouth, the section that we're on now, is a very, very interesting route, and it's full of hills going up and down. And then of course we've got the famous Dawlish seawall. Once we pass Newton Abbot, we'll go through Tingmouth along the coast as far as Dawlish Warren, which is a place that I've actually been to, which is fantastic, and then following the River Exe all the way up to Exeter. Now, interestingly as well, with the announcements has come two things which I hope we get to see on this particular run and this recording, and one of them is random events, which is basically like when random things happen on the track. Now, I've had it already once before where I was driving a train, and I was driving to Paignton, which I'll do on another video, and then there was some temporary speed restrictions. Now, of course, as a driver in real life, you would be having notices of temporary speed restrictions, so that wouldn't become a surprise to anybody. Well, to the driver anyway. However, on Train Sim World, you don't get those. They just kind of happen, and it's best to keep an eye out on the top right hand corner if you use this display, because it will tell you, and obviously the line side temporary signage, and some of them even have temporary AWS magnets as well, so you'll get advanced warning. And then the second thing that I think Train Sim World does really well, and again, while having a bit of a doodad on this route, is another one of the new trains for this Train Sim World, the Class 150 in GWR, which I'll show you on another video, is the best, and I honestly don't say this any other way, but it's the best train to do conductor mode on. Well, that and the Class 350 on the previous edition. Now again, I will do a video on that as well. Now honestly, Train Sim World have done a brilliant job, and I'm going to tell you as well that the other feature I really do like, so we've got random events, and we've also got random failures, where random failures on the train happen. Now, on one of the test runs I was doing, it was raining, so I was running the wipers. I got a notification saying wiper fault, and it said stop the wiper to try to see if it restarts. Stop the wiper, and it said fault has gone. On actually the same test run that I was doing, the train, in fact it was one of these 220s. I'm sorry, I'm going a bit too fast because I'm not paying attention, and I don't really have route knowledge here. But anyway, so on the same run that I was doing on the 220, while stopped, in fact we're going to Totnes, while stopped in Totnes, I had another notification come up, and it said that there was an engine fault. Try to stop the engine and restart. Luckily we did that again at the stop, and surprisingly it didn't delay us, which was good. In real life those sort of things could delay, but we stopped the engine for a moment, and then we started it up again, and it was perfectly fine, and we had the notification saying the fault has been cleared. So I hope you get to enjoy this run. There's nothing more to say about what Train Sim World offers, but the 220 in fact is actually a really nice train to drive, and it's a shame that in the old Train Sim Classic, the 221 Voyager and the 220s and even the 222s, the Just Trains and the would it be under Dovetail, or yeah, it would be under the Dovetail branding. Their versions of the Voyagers / Meridians are not really that great, and they have horrible braking dynamics to the point that you have to brake super early just to get it down. That's why I'm not surprised that there is somebody on the community that's modded the physics of the train on Train Sim Classic to allow the braking system to actually work functionally properly. And now I've got a feeling it's to do with I don't know what you call it, like the engine braking. And as you can see here on our display in front of us, we've got the speedo. Underneath the speedo there is a percentage. Now when you do braking, generally it will do the engine braking, and you'll see the percentage of the engine braking going up when we increase the brake. Now you'll see that in a moment, because we've got a 60-mile-an-hour limit coming up. And then obviously you've got the main brake pressure here, so you've got brake pressure and the main reservoir, and you'll see generally that you won't see those needles shifting when applying brakes, as it uses the engine braking instead to slow the train down. Now we are traveling uphill. I've got power set to full, and we've got a 60-mile-an-hour coming up just after the next signal. So I'm going to coast the train a little bit, because we're currently doing 75 miles an hour, and let the train coast for a bit. This saves brake wear, and also this saves on fuel. And we just use gravity to slow us down. And actually you can see that we're cresting over. We got the advanced warning board just come up, 16 mile an hour. Now one of the things I don't really like about the Voyager / Meridian sets is actually this view. It's quite very well restricted, despite just having a single windscreen at the front. In my opinion, obviously I'm not a real train driver, but from my opinion, on Train Sim Classic and on Train Sim World, the Class 80X trains, so the 801 Azumas on Train Sim World, and now the 802, which is available on this route, have the best view on a single windscreen. Again, I'm not a train driver, and I've never been in the cabs of those train sets, but from my experience on Train Simulator and the viewpoints, I find that this windscreen is actually quite restrictive, and compared to what came before this. And let's talk about a bit of history. Now, these Class 220 and 221 sets were ordered by Virgin Trains Cross Country back in the day, to replace HSTs, aging HSTs, and locomotive hauled stock. So they had locomotives like the 47 hauling Mark II carriages, and these are trains that were from the 1960s, and they've been running all the way up until through the 1990s and into the early 2000s. And they had electric locomotives, Class 86s and 87s, running on the West Coast Main Line under the wires, and again, they were aging and they needed replacing. So Virgin ordered the 220s and the 221s as a replacement for all HSTs and locomotive hauled stock. This also came at the same time as the Class 390, the Pendolinos for the West Coast Main Line. Branson at the time was able to get the investment necessary, and we're talking about Sir Richard Branson, to order the trains in the late 1990s, and the Voyagers, I believe, came into service before the Class 390, but they were into service in the early 2000s. I think it was 2002, perhaps 2003. And the 220 was the first batch, and it ran on services like this. And it is a bit of a shame in real life that as a result of them using these 4-car and then the 221's 5-car sets, it led to overcrowding, and they still have a big problem to this day with overcrowding, despite 221 units being released from Avanti West Coast and now operating. That's why I was saying about this livery of this train. The 220 is not, there is none in this livery, but there are a handful running the network that were from Avanti West Coast, recently refreshed and in this livery. Now, I like this hybrid livery. It's actually quite nice, but I don't know, and I don't think it's going to last very long, due to the fact that Cross Country currently is under a program of a complete refurbishment of its fleet, both the 170 Turbo Stars and the Voyager 220 and 221 sets. And as I say, it's a shame about the capacity with just 4 cars and 5 cars respectively. And yes, you can say you can connect the trains together and you can make an 8 or a 10 or a 9-car train. And yes, this is correct. However, it doesn't really happen. It very rarely happens until recently, until I guess post-COVID. And so you went from, for example, the HST sets. They were running on, most of the sets were running a 7-car with 2 power cars at each end. So you lost a bit of capacity in there. It's the same reason why Branson, with the 390s, the original order, I believe, was supposed to be 7-car sets. And then they ended up having to increase them to 9 carriages, and then there was a second batch that was ordered later on with 11 carriages, and some of the 9 cars were also converted to 11 carriages. So, you know, they didn't do a good job with capacity. This is where I find Cross Countries has a lot of capacity issues. I actually mentioned it to a colleague about, he was complaining, because we live in Peterborough, and he was complaining about why don't they have longer trains for the cross-country services that go from Birmingham to Cambridge. And I said they can't. There's no units available for them to utilise. They are at full capacity with the 170s, and you won't see the Voyagers running on that service either. So I'm going to try and explain to my colleague, they're at full capacity, and what 170s were available just a few years ago, they've all ended up in the hands of East Midlands Railways. So Unfortunate for cross country, they were not able to acquire any new Class 170s. So as I say about this route, this is a very interesting part of the route from Plymouth to Newton Abbot, where the topography of the land means that we are going up, down hills, we're skirting around the hills. And in fact, when you look on a map, Plymouth to Exeter, there is actually a quicker straight line route. However, the railways were not able, and I think it was under Brunel, but they were not able to acquire the land, and also apparently the rock was quite difficult to work with. So this is where this route comes in. And because to be honest, you going down to Dawlish isn't geographically the best route when you think about Plymouth to Dawlish. But anyway, that's enough nattering on. Now this is a problem. This is the only thing I don't like about the 220 Voyager is the driver reminder system, the driver vigilance system, because it actually goes off every 60 seconds as opposed to when you're 60 seconds when you're not using the power lever as a reminder to the driver that, well, I say reminder, it's a system fail-safe for the driver to reply to, because if they're unconscious they won't reply, and then the train will emergency stop. Anyway, we have to be careful how we apply power, especially in a diesel when you're going up and down hills like this, because power goes on, but then obviously with diesel engines you have to let the power run down a little bit so it can coast a little bit, and the topography we keep going up and down. If you have a look at the top left hand corner, we're now on a flat doing 60 mile an hour on a 60 mile an hour limit, but there were times you probably heard from the background noise of the engine spooling up, and perhaps if you see my display on the right side you'll see that I've been applying power every now and then. We're hitting another uphill section at 0.3%. We have another 10 minutes to run to Totnes, 8.2 miles, and it's not a very fast main line, and it's one of the reasons why travelling down to Cornwall, in my opinion, can be a bit of a sore when you're travelling from London, or even if you're taking this cross-country services from places like York and Leeds and Birmingham. But luckily for some people, if you're willing to do it, you've got the overnight train, the night Rivera, which luckily for me, I have done it once, and I had a day trip, believe it or not, from London to Cornwall. I was in Penzance at the end of the line, had overnight both ways, so 2 nights. It ended up working out a little bit cheaper than taking a 2-night stay in Cornwall. So, you know, for me, it was a no-brainer, especially as a younger person back then. That was about 10 years ago. So I'm not really familiar with this sort of section of railway anymore, especially living up on the East Coast Main Line, and I often more likely go to Scotland than I do go to the southwest. I've got really no reason to go down to the southwest other than to see the place, because I don't really know anybody down there. But anyway, we're on a downhill section, so I'm going to be careful with the braking. I'm going to keep an eye out if the speed runs away. We're currently idling, and we're on a 0.4 downgrade. There's a lot of little bridges, as you can see, so, you know, like I say, the topography of the land isn't the best for railways, but it somehow has worked for the past almost 200 years. And it's, I guess, nice to see the GWR branding back into this part of the country as well. I'm just keeping an eye. The speed's not running away, which means on idling at, well, it's starting to creep up a little bit, but idling at on a 0.5% grade is good. So we're going to use a minimum braking now. If you watch this percentage bar underneath the speedo, you can see how it increases. So that's the engine braking, but we got no brake pressure here on the pressure gauge. So that's what I was saying to you about, and I think that's where perhaps on Train Sim Classic it had a problem with dealing with those type of physics, and so somebody had to make a modified physics for the Voyager sets on Train Sim Classic. see how the line sort of wiggles and waves around the hillsides here, goes up and down, goes round and round. It's kind of an interesting route, especially when you look at it on a map. But to save fuel on our service, I have just let the train coast for a bit. We did have a little climb and then a little drop. We're climbing again, we're leveling off. You see, it happens very quickly, and then now we're falling again. So we're at 55 mile an hour now, and the speed might start to climb up a bit. So again, I guess real drivers would be doing a similar method where they just let the train coast and allow gravity to do the work. And it's good, like I say, it's good for fuel consumption, even if it's a saving of just a few percent. The driver vigilance alarm is correct at this moment in time, but there's a few times you might have noticed it's not. So we're climbing again, and we're creeping the speed down ever so slightly. I'm just going to keep an eye on our speed, because if we drop into 50 mile an hour, but then we're leveling off, and I believe there's a falling grade just here. Yeah, we're on the falling grade now, and we're going through this tunnel, and the speed is slowly increasing on a 0.8% grade down. Now this is a beautiful section of railway to drive on in this time of year, in the autumn. Look at how nice the oranges and the greens come out, the reds. It's brilliant. It looks like Network Rail has to get serious about vegetation here, because vegetation is hanging over the sides of the railway, and it's one of the biggest issues that the railway has these days, is the encroaching vegetation onto the railway. Alright, we're really increasing the speed, so I'm going to keep an eye on it in case I have to use braking just to maintain the speed limit. Okay, we're on to 60 mile an hour. Let's apply minimum braking again. Clouds are getting thicker now, so we might see a little bit of rain. Gonna hold minimum braking, 1% grade down. Release the brake. Going around this corner. You can see how sometimes the scenery kind of opens up a bit, but then it closes in again when you get into the embankments. You got the trees. Like I say, it looks like Network Rail needs to sort out this vegetation. So we're 3 miles now from Totnes, and approximately 5 minutes from our stopping. Just going to use the braking. See, that vigilance alarm shouldn't have gone off at that point, because I did actually engage the power there. So let's just use the braking, because we're falling in quite a steep falling grade now, 1.4%. So you can see that trains have to really work hard on this section, and I guess it's probably also the reason why I don't want to go into too much technical details into GWR's 800 series of trains, the 800 and 802s that they have, because I'll do that on the 802 video. But it's I think there's a reason why the 802 was selected. We've got a cautionary light. I think this is a repeater. Yeah, it's a repeater signal, and we're holding the brake now on a 2.2% falling grade. It's getting steeper. These 220 Voyagers would be great for the 5 circle line. You could run a few trains between Kirkcaldy and Edinburgh on Aberdeen services. So I'm keeping the brake in. We're doing 56 miles an hour according to our indicator, but it seems to be holding our speed quite nicely. It's not letting the speed run away, and it's easier for me to get into the power band as well, to get into the brake band if we need to increase. I ended up pressing the number 1 and resetting my camera angle. I like it a little bit down so I can see all the instrumentation. Just get into idle again. And I think around this corner we're going to have to start braking, because we've got a 25 mile an hour limit, as the Totnes platforms are on running loops and not part of the main line, and there are through lines in the middle. So we're going to start braking. We use 50% braking, and you can see the position indicator on as well, showing us a left indicator. And we've just gone into green, which means the signal at the end of the platform has just cleared. It's gone into an off position, so once we depart we'll be ready to go.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform, and take care when stepping down from the train.
Now it looks like we're going to be running about a minute late, but that's not a problem. We'll get the speed down a little bit more. We've got a ground position light there. We're down to 25. Then we're looking for stop marker for the 4 carriage train. Now in real life there are stop markers for these trains that say VT 4/5 and VT 8/10 as well. But I can see there's a stop marker here that's 2 to 3, so we go further up to the blue marker. That's a nice signal box there on the left side. Now there's a heritage railway here actually. And then you can see the brake pressure being applied on there. We've just overshot the mark, but we're still on the platform. That's the main thing.
This is a cross-country service to
And it's starting to rain. So I'm going to jump out of the train. You can see, you heard the announcement there. We've got the nice displays here. You can see next stop is Newton Abbot. Now that's pretty realistic, except it doesn't show the coach letter, but that's alright. It's a beautiful signal box here. Oh, there's a collectible here. Now I like this collectible, this cannon. Watch this. Wow, look at that. It's like a party. And you can hear there's an announcement here, but it's not very clear. So we have to go now. We have to lock the doors. Now we have to climb up. Oops, it's a bit buggy sometimes. Right, let's close the doors. We'll close our door as well. And the rain has started, so let's get the wiper running. Got a green signal, so once we get our buzzing, yep, into forward, and we go. So that was our first stop at Totnes. Next stop is Newton Abbot. Go to power 3 again.
The next station is Newton Abbot. This is a cross-country service to Edinburgh Waverley.
There we go. Thinking why is it not moving, but there we go. It does take a little bit of oomph. I don't know if that's particularly real in regards to this train set, but it does take a bit of oomph to get it going. And then we'll just bring the power back in until we clear these points for the 60 mile an hour. So we've got 7.5 miles to run to Newton Abbot, and it's a similar topography as what we've already seen. Now here to the left there is a preserve railway, steam railway. I think it's the Bodmin, if I'm correct. Okay, we've cleared this. You can see the lovely heritage platform there. So often or not, you'll go past here. There could be a steam train or two standing over there. Anyway, full power now as we come out of Totnes. Make our way towards Newton Abbot. Now I'm going to be quiet now until we reach Newton Abbot, so you can enjoy the cab ride and enjoy the sights and sounds of the 220 Voyager set. There we go. We're now approaching, well, we'll shortly be arriving at Newton Abbot, 1.3 miles away, and the line from Paignton will come up on our right-hand side, as you can see here. We did have a small frame rate issue. I don't know what happened there, but it looked like to resolve it, I just opened the main pause menu, and it somehow resolved the frame rate issue that I was having just for a short while, so I do apologize for that, and I think that's might be one of the limitations to the graphics engine that Train Sim World and Dovetail uses. I have no idea what happened there, but as soon as I did the pause menu, the frames came back. There's one of our colleagues going the other way towards Plymouth. Now approaching Newton Abbot, and we're a little bit behind the schedule, but that's not a problem. Looks like we're running on average about a minute late. So far, no random events or random faults have occurred on our run, but if they do come up, I will show you.
Newton Abbot.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform, and take care when stepping down from the train.
I got a good approach speed now on this platform. You see, as the train slows down, the brake pressure comes up as well. So we've got to find our stop marker, which today is just by the stairs here at Newton Abbot. You can see 4/5. So we'll try to get it into the window if we can. There we go, perfect.
This is Newton Abbot. This is a cross-country service to Edinburgh Waverley. The next station is Exeter St David's.
And you can hear the announcement here.
Bristol Temple Leeds, Bristol Park, Cheltenham Smith, Worcestershire Park, Birmingham New Street, Norton-on-Trent, Dublin, Chesterfield, Sheffield, Wakefield Westgate, Leeds, York, Dublin.
Like I say, you can hear the announcements, but with the sound of the diesel engine, you can't really hear it very well. But it looks like the rain is getting heavier. What's nice about Train Sim World, since I can't remember which one, but they've added like dynamic weather. So, for example, the AI will carry umbrellas or use umbrellas. We're in the shelter here, so there's no need for them to open the umbrellas. Anyway, let's close the doors, and we'll get going again. And we're going to be non-stop to Exeter, as you heard from the announcement and my display here. So interlock light has come on, guard has buzzed, and I've buzzed back. We'll go power free again for the departure, as long as it doesn't wheel slip us as we depart.
The next station is Exeter St David's. This is a cross-country service to Edinburgh Waverley.
And you can see how people are using their umbrellas out in the rain as well. So let's get the wiper into fast. We'll go full power now, up to 60 miles an hour. And then we'll shortly be travelling along the seawall between Plymouth and Dawlish. This is honestly where the route shines, in my opinion, between Newton Abbot, well, in fact, from Paignton all the way to Exeter. It's a fantastically scenic line. And in fact, there is I believe there's one or perhaps two of these Voyager services on the timetable mode, which does actually go up to Paignton. Like I say, now we're in the more scenic part of the route, in my opinion. Well, scenic for being by the sea. There's a class 150 forecast set. And I hope that the next video that I'll do on this route, so I'm going to do a few videos on this route, will be on the 150 as a guard or in conductor mode, because I really do like the conductor mode using that particular train. So here we go, we can unleash some 90 mile an hour power now, and there's a temporary magnet there, and it says we got a 40 mile an hour temporary speed limit coming up. So there we go. As I was saying to you about random events, here's one of the random events. And it looks like, according to our display, it's just after the next signal. So what we're going to do, we're going to prepare for that. And as I say, in real life, the drivers would have it up on their notice board so that they know where these temporary speed restrictions are. Now, there's plenty of reasons why temporary speed limits can come into play. Some of it can be to do with track conditions or environmental conditions. Others can be to do with, well, anything really. There's many reasons. But for the driver, it's not the reason, it's the where it is. Look at this beautiful scenery as we come alongside. I don't even know what this is. This is a river, it's not the sea. Oh, I've slowed down a little bit too early. And I've got a random fault as well. One of the diesel engines has stalled. It needs restarting. So we'll see how we get on with our power for now. Because otherwise, we might have to make a stop in an unscheduled stop in Plymouth to allow the engines to stop and restart. Otherwise, or either Plymouth or Dawlish, just to restart the engine. But you saw that notification there. And so we've got a random event. So we've got this 40 mile an hour temporary speed limit, and the end of the speed limit is marked with the T standing for track speed. Now we're out of that, we're going to try to power on, see how well the train runs. There is a fault. Now in real life, we probably would be able to use this screen here to figure out what's happened, but there is nothing really on here to do. So we'll forget that for now, and we'll go back to our position here and enjoy the scenery. Now it looks like, although we have a train fault on one of the engines, we should be able to power through all the way to Exeter. It doesn't seem to be affecting our acceleration terribly, so we'll just reset the engine once we get to Exeter. Advance warning for the 60 mile an hour along the seawall now. Look at this beautiful scenery. Now I'm going to mute the commentary so that you can enjoy the scenery through Plymouth and then through Dawlish. Just enjoy what you see. Despite the weather conditions today, we can definitely still enjoy the view of the sea. Who doesn't like the view of the sea? Anyway, we're slowing down to 60 mile an hour just before Plymouth. The beautiful bridge over there, I don't even know what that is. I don't have any knowledge of this area really locally. But anyway, as I said, I'll mute the commentary for now so you can enjoy the scenery. And I'll come back to you once we go past Dawlish Warren. And just like that, we are at Dawlish Warren in the beautiful... We had a beautiful journey along the sea coast and Dawlish seawall, which has been extensively rebuilt due to storm damage over the years. We're now following the River Ex on our right hand side. We've just passed through Dawlish Warren. The next station that we'll be passing through will be Starcross, which is famous for one of Brunel's inventions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that ride along the seawall. It is honestly the highlight of the route, in my opinion. And the view from the cab isn't too bad, especially with the single windscreen. So we're now on our last 10 miles into Exeter, and like I say, we're following the River Ex. And as you saw when we passed through Dawlish Warren, there were 2 Class 150s, one in each direction. The one heading towards Exeter was awaiting our passage, and the one probably on the opposing on the opposing platform was probably heading towards Paignton, which most of the services stopping there go to Paignton. Anyway, we're now approaching Starcross, which was famous for Brunel's atmospheric railway, which ran exactly where we are. And I believe the pump house for the air is still there, which is this brick building just to the left of our screen right now. What a beautiful line we're travelling on, and we were lucky as well with the weather conditions. The rain has cleared up and we've got beautiful sun with a few clouds about, nothing too crazy. Now after this signal, we'll be on a pretty straight run all the way up to Exeter, running at 100 miles an hour just before, and we'll slow down just before Exeter. So we're going to apply full power now. And you can see what I mean by the topography of the land. It really changes on this route. It's very, very cool. Like, so we went through rolling hills, we're skirting alongside hills, flying over little valleys and like gorges where the rivers and streams go through. And then we ran along the coastline. Now we're traveling alongside the River Ex, although it's a bit far across now than where it was when we first started. And you can see as well, these are much flatter in these areas all the way up to Exeter. So like I say, this is a very well-rounded route, and it's actually a very fun route to drive. More fun when you add this 220, which is available in the Platinum Edition. You can actually buy this separately, but when you look at the price, if you can get a good deal on the Platinum Edition, was it Platinum Deluxe Edition? You should get the Deluxe Edition and enjoy the route with the 220 Voyager as well. There are some routes available using the Class 43 HST as well. I think on the Castle configuration you can even use the Class 166 on services to Paignton. And I think there's a few Plymouth services which they are occasionally used on routes, on services to Paignton, so it's semi-realistic, I guess. But yeah, so this is a route definitely to enjoy, and buying Train Sim World 6, it's really pushed forward the immersion as well. Especially if you're like me, I wear nice headphones when I play these games. So when I'm playing on Train Sim World now, it's amazing. You get the announcements on the train, you get the announcements on the platform. I'm gonna have to try some of the older routes that have just started to become what they call Train Sim World 6 compatible. I think the one that they've just done is the Cross City and the West Coast Main Line. So I ought to try give that a try and see if it adds those features, or if it just adds. I mean, I guess you can overlay the random faults and and the random events on any route. But I think perhaps if they're Train Sim World 6 compatible, I would assume, because I haven't tried them, I don't know. I would assume that they have the features like the announcements on the train and announcements at the platform that actually announce the calling pattern and the times of the services. So we're coming into the Exeter area now. This is a brand new station that we're coming up to, and I cannot remember the name of the station off the top of my head, but this is one of the newest stations in the UK at the moment, only recently opened. And we just got our warning board as well for the 75-mile-an-hour restriction, which we should start braking for. We're definitely going to overspeed that 75. We've got a banner repeater showing us a green aspect. Over to TPWS. And yeah, as I called it, we're going to be speeding. 75 mile an hour now, speed limit. Next drop will be 45 just before we arrive into Exeter St David's, and we're expecting platform 5. So we'll just coast the train as we go through Exeter St Thomas. And there's the advance warning for the 45 mile an hour limit on the approach into Exeter St David's. And we've got cautionary aspects bringing us down as well. As we approach Exeter St David's, a little thing with Exeter is Exeter St David's is probably the busiest station and I guess the main station of Exeter. You've got St Thomas, which we just went through, and you've also got Central, which is not on this route, but if you take the Southwestern Railway service to Waterloo from here, you'll drop by Exeter Central and even the Exmouth service.
Exeter St David's.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform, and take care when stepping down from the train.
And we're looking for the 4-car mark stop now. We've got Exeter Depot on the left side, which houses and looks after the DMUs for the local services in the area. Oh, 2 and 4 car. It's a very quick stop. So we've sort of overrun that, but what we'll do, we'll stop at this S car instead. I think they said S, or is it a 5? There we go.
Exeter St David's. This is a cross-country service.
So
to
we're going to exit the
Edinburgh
train.
Waverley.
Oops.
The next station is Tiverton Parkway.
Tiverton Parkway. And there we go. There's the 222 in Exeter St David's. In fact, what we should do is put the DRA on because the signal's red. So as I said, that's the 220 in an unrealistic livery, but it's a lovely livery nonetheless. Normally running on the 221 Voyagers. But yeah, so you can hear the real-time announcement here, which is telling all the stops on the way up to Edinburgh. Looks like the train is going to depart now as well. Is it going to depart or is it just closing the door? What time does it say? 27, so it probably will depart in a moment. Now, one of the things I find interesting about Exeter St. David's, I'm going to see if it's on here, but the... Oh, I'll get one of those cannons as well. Boom! Oh yeah, signal's green. And you've got the level crossing, which is one of the longest level crossings in the UK. So let's go to the end of the platform. We're going to go watch our Voyager, because I can already hear it powering up, depart, and hopefully we get to watch the level crossing gates come back up as well. So green signal. Voyager's there that we just took in from Plymouth, and it's going to continue its journey to Edinburgh. At least I hope it does, because the level crossing gates are down already. Signal's been cleared. You can see green signal there at Echo 37. Level crossing gates are down. I don't know if they're animated level crossing, but here comes the Voyager now. And there you go, the level crossing is active and it just opened the gates. And as I said, this is one of the longest level crossing gates, or level crossings in the country. I think the longest one actually is near where I live, in the village of Marham. Anyway, I thank you for joining me. We are here at Exeter St. David's. And yeah, Train Sim World 6 is proving itself to be one of the best. Actually, is the best version of Train Sim World, which is good because we go through the numbers and we expect more. And it's good that actually we do have a decent amount of coverage. Anyway, should we try the lift? Oh, it's like the real lifts, you know. Oh, this is one of my favourite features from Train Sim World 5. Anyway, there's a class 150. I was going to say 170, but it's a 150. Here on platform number 3, bound for, where are you going? Paignton. It will be departing in a few minutes' time. So, I'm going to leave you here in Exeter St. David's. Actually, you know what? We can finish the video over here. And we just drove the class... We just drove the class 1... well, we just drove the class 220 Voyager with cross country from Plymouth to Exeter en route to Edinburgh. And I hope you've enjoyed this. My next video, I'm planning to get it on soon as well, and I'm debating whether the next video will be the 150 or the 802, so we can cover all bases. Anyway, I'll leave you with this beautiful building here, and there it is, look at that, refreshment room and snack bar. It's a beautiful building. Here, there's the gate line. We can't go through the gate line, but that's alright. Station's getting busy now as well, as the day progresses. Once again, I thank you for joining me, and I hope to do a few more videos on Train Sim World 6, especially this route, the Rivera line. And I hope to see you on another one soon. Bye.